All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a couple of viral Hindi horror stories that have been making the rounds online. We're going to really dissect them, pull apart the mechanics to figure out what makes these modern digital ghost stories just so terrifyingly good. And we're going to start with this line right here, which is just absolutely bone-chilling. This is the big twist from one of the stories we're looking at, and it perfectly sums up what modern horror is all about. See, it's not just about things jumping at you anymore. It's that horrible, sinking feeling when you realize the monster wasn't hiding in the shadows. It was sitting right next to you, pretending to be your friend.
So let's talk about how these stories are even being told. Platforms like YouTube, they've basically become our modern-day digital campfire. It's the place where these really old, ancient legends are getting a fresh coat of paint for a whole new generation, mixing those timeless fears with anxieties that feel very, very current.
Okay, so the two stories we're really going to get into are from the YouTube channel Scary Pumpkin. They're called Chhalava and Micho Boot, and we picked these two for a reason. They are just perfect examples of this digital folklore phenomenon. The way they use animation and sound design to create this creeping sense of dread, it's incredible. And you'll see there's a surprisingly precise formula at play here. All right, every great horror story needs a great monster, right? So let's meet the antagonists. It's time to get a closer look at the supernatural creatures at the very heart of these tales. So, what are we up against here? Well, on one hand, you've got the Chhalava, who's basically a master of psychological warfare, an illusionist. And on the other hand, you have the Micho Boot, which is just this raw, primal, predatory force. So yeah, two very different ways to scare you. Okay, so the Chhalava, this thing is fascinating. It's not about a physical attack. No, it goes straight for your mind. It messes with your perception of reality itself. We're talking phantom villages that appear out of nowhere, horrifying time loops where no matter which road you take, you end up right back where you started. And maybe the scariest part, it makes you turn on the people you're with. And then you have the Micho Boot, which is a completely different kind of nightmare. This one is all about that gut-level primal fear. It crawls out of these dark, murky waters, and it's not just trying to kill you. It wants to possess you, to literally transform you into a monster that has to feed its own disgusting cravings. But here's where it gets really interesting. It's how these stories are put together. I mean, you have two totally different monsters, right? But both stories follow this classic, and I mean ruthlessly effective, three-step formula to crank up the tension and trap not just the characters, but us too. Let's actually break that down. Step 1, isolation. You get your characters completely alone. Stick them on a broken-down bus in a dark forest or in a remote house by a river. Step 2, the lure. You dangle a little bit of false hope, maybe a village that promises safety, or a new friend who seems trustworthy. And then step 3, the trap. Just when they think they're safe, that's when the trap snaps shut. It's a classic formula, and man, does it work. But, the physical trap is really only half of it. The real horror, the stuff that really gets under your skin and stays with you, is how these ghosts wage war on the human mind. They are absolute masters of psychological terror. So let me ask you this. For a ghost like the Chhalava, a thing that can literally shapeshift and create illusions of entire villages, what do you think its greatest weapon is? I'll give you a hint. It's probably not what you're thinking. It's something much, much more basic to our own human experience. And here's the answer. One of the characters explains it perfectly. The Chhalava doesn't need all this crazy power because its strength comes from us. It literally feeds on the traveler's exhaustion and fear. It weaponizes our own weaknesses, turning our own minds against us until they become the perfect prison. And you see this kind of psychological attack play out in both stories. The Chhalava is a master manipulator, setting things up so the passengers start turning on each other. It even forces one poor guy to watch an illusion of his own family being murdered. And with the Micho Boot, the horror isn't just a monster. It's watching your friend Sugandha get possessed and start gruesomely eating raw fish, transforming right in front of her family. See? They break you down mentally way before they ever lay a hand on you. So that brings us to the big question. Why do these stories haunt us so much? I mean, at the end of the day, they're animated videos on YouTube, but they feel so real. They stick around in your head long after you've clicked away. What is it? What universal fears are they plugging into? Well, it's because they're not really just about ghosts, are they? They're about our deepest, most universal fears. Think about it. The fear of betrayal. What if your friends or family suddenly turned on you? the fear of losing control, not just of the situation, but of your own mind, your own body. And that ultimate fear of the unknown, the terror of realizing the monster was never in the woods. It was in the room with you the whole time.
Really, what these stories are showing us is just how fragile everything is. They're about what happens to people when you strip everything away, when friendship, family, and even your own perception of reality just completely collapse under pressure.
But, and I love this part, it's not all hopeless. Just when you think the monster has won, the humans fight back. This line from the Chhalava story is so cool. The hero basically turns the tables on the monster. He asks, "Did you think only you could play this game?" He doesn't use magic or some weapon, he uses logic. He catches the shapeshifter in a lie about a tiny detail, something about an uncle owning a travel agency instead of a food stall, and that one little crack is enough to bring the whole illusion crashing down. And that really leaves us with one final, pretty haunting question to chew on. After the story is over and the screen goes dark, what's the real monster that's left behind? Is it the one in the video, or is it the paranoia these stories leave with you? The most powerful horror, it turns out, doesn't just show you a monster. It makes you doubt the world around you. And maybe, just a little bit, even doubt yourself.